It might look like all 35 of these pots are being watered individually, but they're not. It's only this top row of pots that are connected to the pump, and all the rest are just being watered by gravity. One of the goals of this project was to see how simple I could keep food production to keep costs low. To do that, I've designed the system so that the pump feeds into that manifold that splits the line into the 7 smaller hoses, which then go into the top row of pots. As the top pot fills with water, it drains into the one below it, and then so on and so on down to the final pot, and which then drains back into the reservoir. Doing it this way means that I don't have to worry about trying to balance or split flows from one pump to say 35 pots. I also don't have to pressurize the system or worry about anything being too fancy or expensive. It also keeps the whole system modular, because once I've decided on how many pots go on the top row, I can then add however many pots I want in the chain, so to speak, before it goes back to the reservoir. A few of the questions I've been asked are, would the pots on the lower levels of the system get less water or nutrients than the ones higher up? The answer to that is no. As you can see, the flow is actually pretty substantial. The pump turns on for 1 minute on the hour during the day, and that cycles more than enough nutrients through the entire system to make sure that the pots, even at the bottom, still get plenty of fresh water and nutrient solution. Another question is, wouldn't this first row of pots overflow? Wouldn't they fill up too much or too fast? The answer again is no, and that's because I have intentionally designed all of the holes or all the fittings, let's say, in this system to be the same diameter, the same opening. So the same amount of water enters in this hose as drains out of this hose. Because of the way I have designed the drains, the pots do fill up with water about 1/4 of the way, maybe 1/3 of the way, before enough of the drain gets covered to get enough flow for the drainage flow to equal the input flow. I have tested this quite extensively actually. If I leave the pump running for multiple hours, none of the pots overflow. It basically just looks like this continually. And the last question is, wouldn't I need a large pump to support this kind of system for, let's say, 35 pots? The answer is not really. This is one of the smallest pumps I could find. This has a head of, I think, 3 meters, which is also one of the highest I found, but it's a 2,000 litre an hour pump. From my calculations, when I designed and built the system, I ended up having to restrict the flow on this manifold input actually quite heavily because the 2,000 litres an hour was too high for what I wanted. So I think even for a system of this size, the smallest aquarium pumps or hydroponic pumps you can find would be more than enough. Soon I will be adding some larger crops, not just the strawberries up the top, but I will also be adding some lettuce and a couple of other kind of normal staples for a vegetable garden. But soon I'll be adding some larger cherry tomatoes to the bottom of this system. I might end up having to make some bigger pots, but I guess I'll see as I go. And then the idea would be that I would be able to trellis the tomatoes up between some of the other pots on the lattice. If you're interested in seeing how I progress with this system, with how much food I can grow in a corner of my garage, consider subscribing, and thanks for watching.